Count us in 5,
Yeah.
4.
This is a mistake. I'm Todd Kendrick with D&D Beyond, and I am joined by Nathan Stewart from Wizards of the Coast, in charge of D&D. So tell me a little bit why you decided to go into Avernus. Like, why are you punishing players? Like, why are you trying to corrupt souls?
Well, to be fair, we're starting in Baldurs Gate, so we give you a little bit of taste of dreary, overrun by scoundrels and villainy, and then we take you to hell. So it's all roses and butterflies. But honestly, because we like to try and mix it up for the fans, right? Last time we were sitting in this room, we were in the middle of Waterdeep. Nice urban adventure. We hadn't done anything in 5th edition that was really urban. Had all the kinds of secret kind of alliances in the background stuff going on, and so we like to mix it up and really change stuff up for the players. And so we thought, okay, well, Baldur's Gate is so much different than the top version of Waterdeep. And if we're going to go there, then we're going to get into what's really behind that, which is being run by devils and demons and the influences of these otherworldly things and how that impacts it. And then from the minds of Adam and Chris and Kate and everyone, it just went down, down, down fast. It was like Johnny
Yeah, I can
Cash.
see that going bad.
Yeah. So and then once they got down into hell, they were having so much fun in Avernus and with the Hellfire engines or the Infernal War machines and stuff. So, down there, they're just like, oh, hell's not so bad. This is great. Right? And so then
It's a little too good.
I know, that's the problem, right? They're having so much fun there. And then they brought it back and said, okay, well, there's kind of a redemption element here. Like, ultimately, you're trying to save something or someone, right? So, how do we do that? So I think it was just a natural, starting point of let's tell a fun new story starting in Baldur's Gate. And then when we get at what the kind of the core ethos is that's driving that adventure, it took us to hell.
What's been one of the most important things it's a tremendous responsibility being in charge of D&D. That evolution, what has been most important for you, not only in 5th edition, but just in terms of story, in terms of just how it reaches pop culture?
I think that for me is the biggest, most important thing is that I love this brand, and I take the honor of being the head of Dungeons and Dragons very seriously. So for me, my duty is to actually make sure that it does hit pop culture in the biggest possible way. Like Dungeons and Dragons has been around 45 years. It's an amazing property. It's got tons of great worlds, storytellers, fans. So I can't really add much to any of that. I'm not a creative guy. I'm not Chris Perkins. I'm not Mike Merrills. I'm not those guys in terms of that side of it. But what I can add, my mark that I can really leave on this brand that I love so much, is that I can help it gain more mainstream popularity than it's ever gotten before, because it's a brand that touches so many people's lives in such a good way that if more people get exposed to it, they're also going to love it, and they're also going to have this great experience with it, because it's about friends and storytelling and acceptance and encouraging people to be themselves. So it's got all these great foundational elements to it, and all it needs is someone who can turn up the volume on the megaphone. And that's where I come in, because I have not been in Dungeons and Dragons as long as all these folks, but I've definitely worked on some big giant brands and some really mainstream advertising and marketing. And because the team is so fan first, and because I'm so fan first in my approach to how we run the business and the marketing, then we know that we're really delivering something that the fans and ourselves can be proud of.
What's it like watching this team? Because these are one of the things that alarmed me the most, because I haven't interviewed you since the very first day.
Really?
I was at Wizards of the Coast. And what struck me about the entire team was how genuine, nice, articulate, passionate, and just fundamentally good people everyone was on the team. That was the moment, that day I was like, this is all I'm doing now.
Yeah,
this is all I want to do. I'm not covering anything else. I'm going to find a way to make this what I do with my life. What is it like for you to watch that team sometimes from the top down, watching them write, watching them come up with these epic stories and see the popularity grow?
Well, the beauty of it is, like you said, they're all super smart and creative and talented, and they love the brand, and they're respectful of each other and the fans. And so I get to not only kind of watch from the top, but I get to like peer over in from the side, right? I get to like be a fanboy and watch the art go up on the wall and hear their creative storytelling and just kind of enjoy it as a fan, because I'm not managing them, right? I mean, they're driving to the to the end point, and I'm just helping take obstacles out of their way, and they don't need that all the time. So lots of times I can just enjoy. I can sit back and read story guides and be entertained like a fan, and 90% of the time, the direction is great, the creativity is great. If anything, it's their passion is just making it so that they all have all these wonderful ideas and they have to hone it down. Like, I'm the bad cop. I have to come in and say, no, you can't make a 500-page book. No, you can't do this. It's not because we don't want to. It's just we have to manage the process and the business. No, you can't work weekends. I'm the guy saying no to stuff.
You're the one saying no?
I'm the guy who
working weekends?
I'm the guy who yelled at Chris Perkins for writing Curse of Strahd during his vacation. I'm like, this is great and it's fantastic and never do it again.
You are a rare person. You are a very rare boss.
It's a weird spot to be in, though, right? I mean, How do you tell a bunch of creative and talented people, like, just like this is what I tell them. I'll be honest and just like straightforward. I say, look, it's great. All these things are fantastic. I love all the stuff you're doing, but you're no good to me dead. And if you don't take time for yourself and for your family, then you ultimately won't get to keep creating this for the fans and stuff. So even though in the short term, yes, everyone would want you to make more and do more and work all the time and whatnot, but it's a marathon, not a sprint, and you got to take care of you got to take care of your family, and then that's where the creative juice is, because you will hit a seizing in the engine if you don't take care of yourself.
Now, you're also a player.
I do play from time to time, not as much lately, but that's just because end of the year school stuff for the kiddo, and we got a new dog.
Yeah, that's true. But we have a mutual friend who tells me that you have a baker, which is not really a class in D&D. Can you tell me a little bit about your baker character, whose hands?
Hands are not the hand. So sometimes people ask who I usually play with. So I play a character named Ganache. So if you've ever had ganache, it's this wonderful little chocolate mixture with extra cream and sugar. It's Belgian chocolate. It's glorious, right? So it's a baking term. I grew up in a restaurant. I worked in the bakery sometimes, and I just like food and culture. I think it's a big part of D&D. And so my player's name is Ganache, and he's a pastry chef or a baker. And that works well because of the fact that I think it would be weird if I told people he was a rogue assassin. Because I don't know who in the world goes out and says, hey, I'm an assassin.
Only James Bond.
Right, yeah. Well, yeah, but even again, he would be like Emerald Enclave? No, he would be like the Lord's Alliance, right? I mean, he'd be like an assassin, but he'd have a badge, or
a license to kill.
A license to kill, right.
Yeah.
So my character just kind of travels up and down the Sword Coast. He was like the November Employee of the Month in Neverwinter. He's got a certificate from the head chef. So when he was there, I mean, his story checks out. It's really solid.
Yeah, he's got all the docs.
Yeah, he's got all the docs, and just occasionally he'll pick a lock or shoot an arrow through someone's eye.
What's the most important thing, do you think, for D&D growing, like the evolution of what is now 5th edition D&D, which mainly we just refer to D&D now, but like so much has changed since 1st edition. What do you think is like the biggest contribution, do you feel, for D&D right now? And also the reason why it has become so popular.
Yeah, I think that both of those are very similar, which is just the allowing new would-be fans to feel welcomed and to have fun right away in the hobby, whether they're playing, Neverwinter Online, whether they're playing at the table. Like, there should never be, no one should be the last in on the club, right? None of the creators, none of the influencers, none of the designers should ever design this in a way that it's like, cool, everyone who's already in is cool, but if you're new, we're going to put a bunch of roadblocks in your way, right? We should be encouraging, we should be welcoming, and that's not just our attitudes, but it's also with the designs, right? When you look in previous editions, oftentimes we would inflate and keep stacking the rules to the point where new players would look and be like, I totally want to play. Oh, I need a master's in English Lit to join the table. That's a really high bar, right? It should be, you want to play? Come on in. We don't even make you buy the book. You can do D&D Beyond. You can download the free rules or whatnot. You can create a character without spending a dime. You are welcome to start playing D&D without ever giving money. We try to take all the barriers out, and that's the biggest thing we can do is we can encourage new people who we know would love D&D, we know would be a great contribution to the community, let them in with as little friction as possible.
And D&D isn't, you don't have to play D&D to be a D&D fan. Like, there are so many ways. You have the Rick and Morty comics now.
We do have the Rick and Morty comics now. We have so many streams online that you can watch. I imagine that there are a few million D&D fans now who all they do is watch people play D&D, and that's how they engage with the brand, and they love it, and they know all kinds of crazy stuff about it, and they're every bit as immersed in the brand and not rolling up a character, rolling dice, because maybe they don't have a good group, or maybe they don't have time in terms of it. So yeah, so we try not to use the term player as often, even though we're so rooted in gaming. We try to always refer to our fans as fans, because they might be avid readers of Bob Salvatore's books. They might be on book 32 of The Legend of Dritz.
Right.
Are they any less a fan? I mean, that is that's deep, right?
Yeah.
You know, so and we've been on 100. You know, we've had 100 different video game titles out through the years on almost every platform. You know, we've had the 80s cartoon. We've had over 500 novels. We got the Rick and Morty crossover. We got the great Baldurs Gate comics crossover. We got board games. You know, we've had 3 average to bad movies. I mean, there are lots and lots of entry points that you could have become a D&D fan.
Speak not of the past.
Speak not of the past. Sometimes you make mistakes, and you look at those and you build on them.
That wasn't your watch, though.
It wasn't my watch, but that's the thing. When you come into this brand, you are taking over the history. It's 45 years old. You're the steward of a brand. You want to take what has come before you, and you want to learn and grow from that, and you want to leave it in a better place than when you got it.
Is that what you worry about for like your legacy when you look at this entire team and this like moment in time?
Yeah.
Because I think we all thought we were already in the golden age of D&D a long time ago in the 80s, and now this. Yeah, this is far beyond anyone's dreams.
Yeah, well, I mean, we thank the internet for that, right? I mean, when you think about the 80s, all the people playing D&D, I think, felt like it was as big as it is now. But we were all, you know, in our kitchen tables and in our neighborhoods, and we didn't have the megaphones to know how many people were actually out there and how many different ways. So I think it was the same spirit as back then, but, you know, now we use the internet for what it was intended for. Pictures of my kid, my cat, my dog, and sharing D&D memes.
Yeah, those are it.
Yeah, that's it.
That's all the internet has ever been used for.
The internet, that's what it was for.
Do you have a favorite adventure? A favorite project that you've worked on? Are you allowed to even say that?
It's like kids. I think that you have your favorite moments. I don't think you can have a true favorite. I will tell you that Ghost of Saltmarsh has a really, really special place in my heart, because for 2 or 3 years before we had even come out officially with the first 5e product, Mike and I always used seafaring examples as this kind of litmus test for 5e, and especially classes and feats. We always talked about a swashbuckler, or what someone would be like if they were on a ship, and how, you know, you didn't want to create a new class to be this thing, and that's where feats and backgrounds kind of. So there were so many times that we talked about being a pirate or on a pirate ship, or the seafaring adventure. I mean, for 2 years. You know, and what is it? It's 5 years later, and so now we finally have, you know, new rules for seafaring adventures, new feats and backgrounds. So that one's got a special place just because of I kind of maybe thought we were never going to make it, and then we did.
Yeah.
And then Baldurs Gate, this Baldurs Gate Descent into Avernus touches another favorite part of my life, which is, you know, I didn't have an ongoing group of friends, and so video games became my role-playing avenue. And so, you know, whether it was Bard's Tale or Wasteland or Ultima, or then in the 90s, Baldur's Gate.
Yeah.
You know, those were...
I still have my copy.
You do?
Yeah.
Your Interplay, your cool box.
Oh, yeah, my cool box. You know, the anti-theft box?
Yeah.
The ones that were too tall.
Those are good.
Yeah.
Yeah, barely said Dungeons and Dragons on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that one's just special because of the fact that, you know, there was a middle part where I didn't play any of the tabletop stuff, and I was just engaging with that. So to finally be able to, in 5th edition, you know, tell a really fun story and introduce so many nooks and crannies in Baldur's Gate. It's stuff you couldn't do in the game because, you know, the game, if you don't program it, it's not there. The tabletop, you give the DM ways to to work around that.
What are you proudest of?
Honestly, just that we have just grown so much, and that every time I wear a Dungeons and Dragons shirt out, I get new and diverse people give me a thumbs up or telling me they played last Tuesday. I mean, there's not a day that I'm wearing a logo tee out that I don't get someone saying, "Oh, I'm playing with my buddies right now." My barista at the Starbucks near me, he just got into D&D like a month ago, and I wore my shirt in, and he was like, "Oh, my friends, they got me in playing. We're playing like every week now," and I'm like, "Yeah."
Nathan Stewart, thank you so much.
It's a
I really
pleasure.
appreciate it. Thanks for being on the show.
You bet.